Good afternoon, and congratulations, graduates and families. It is my pleasure to invite our medalist, Kathryn Garcia, to join me at the podium. Kathryn Garcia, you have dedicated your career to public service, to selflessly turning your eyes to others. But now, in this moment, we turn our eyes to you. You often credit your childhood, spent in a big, multiracial family in 1970s Brooklyn, with laying the foundation. You were adopted as an infant by parents who set a prime example. Your mother was an English professor, and your father a labor negotiator. They adopted 2 other children, including your older sister, who had spent 7 challenging years in the foster system before joining the family. When I think about my adoption and my family, one thing is clear, you say. We need more families like mine. With that lesson in hand, you began a career that has made a difference for countless New York families, from Staten Island to the Bronx. During the Bloomberg administration, you brought your confidence and problem-solving ability to the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, overseeing the water supply and sewer system. In 2014, when Mayor de Blasio appointed you Commissioner of the New York City Department of Sanitation, you were only the 2nd woman to serve in that role, and our first woman governor, Kathy Hochul, appointed you Director of State Operations and Infrastructure in September 2021. Prioritizing public health for all has been your byword. Following Hurricane Sandy, you helped restore safe drinking water. You led reforms to improve systems throughout the city in the face of climate change, which you have rightly called the defining issue of our time. You spearheaded Lead-Free NYC, a roadmap for eliminating childhood lead exposure. And, in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, you were appointed food czar, mobilizing efforts to distribute more than 200 million meals to families citywide. It is no wonder that our leaders have turned to you time and again to guide critical government agencies out of crisis. Through your devotion to public service, you have earned the admiration of the people of New York State who are not easily impressed. Your work ethic, always accompanied by compassion, sets an example for our graduates here today.
What an amazing career and impact, Kathryn Garcia. We shine a light on you today in recognition of your tremendous and ongoing contributions to our community, our city, and to our state of New York. It is with gratitude and pride that we present you with the Teachers College Medal for Distinguished Service.
All right.
Well, good afternoon and congratulations to the Columbia Teachers College class of 2022. And I want to thank the professor for the introduction and President Tom Bailey and the trustees of Teachers College for inviting me to speak to you. I am really so very honored. Education is the foundation of my story. My mom, who did raise all 5 of us in Brooklyn in the 70s, was a teacher. She was also a Teachers College alumni, and so has spent her entire life living the values that were part of her experience at Teachers College. My sister, who is also living in Brooklyn, is a teacher in the public school system. And when the New York Times asked me to choose a defining place for a portrait, I chose my elementary school in Brooklyn. A school where my daughter, a generation later, would have the same teacher. That is the power of education. It is never just the lessons in textbooks or what happens solely inside a classroom. It is a community, and it takes a village. And it starts with people like you who step up and say, I am making this investment in myself so that I can make an investment in my community. Surrounding the power of education are our teachers in the classrooms day in and day out, the researchers who power our educational advancements, administrators and superintendents who really do keep the trains running, professors who continuously set new standards and challenge our future generations. But no matter the path you chose for your future, you will have the potential to create true impact. Yours is the kind of public service that is a tremendous privilege and a tremendous responsibility. And as I prepared to speak to you today, I learned that the theme of this ceremony is change. It is safe to say that there have been few times in history with as much rapid change as you all have experienced over the course of your time at Teachers College. In 2020, the world shifted in ways we haven't even begun to measure. Finishing a degree during COVID is in itself a monumental accomplishment. It would have been easier to put your world on hold, but instead you push forward in order to push the rest of our world forward. This is a moment of change within education and within psychology and within health. Children have lost so much, and we are all going to have to be there to support their physical, their emotional, and their educational needs to jumpstart that learning. But recently, education has been forced to be so many other things, as was already spoken about. It was COVID testing sites, food pantries, grief counseling. It became apparent that schools do not only provide education, they are the true pillars of the community. And today you are crossing one finish line, but there will be so many races to come. And as you prepare for the next chapter, I want to talk about the small, often overlooked actions that create the foundation for sweeping change. Your everyday work, having the confidence in your decisions, building your teams from your weakest point, and changing your mind. The best advice I can hand down to you is that change is the product of very big vision and small, consistent execution. Know that your impact will be felt by thousands of people you may never even meet. Work hard for those people every day. Remember this, the normal everyday is actually heroic. One of my most challenging times as a leader was very early on in the uncertain days of COVID in New York City. I didn't have the sweeping power to make the virus go away or spur the federal government to action, but I had the power to keep the garbage trucks running, and that is what we did. It may have typically felt small and ordinary, but to people I would meet later, it had been much more. On the campaign trail, New Yorkers came up to me to say that during the darkest days of the lockdown, when they heard the garbage truck roll down their street, a sound they really had never appreciated before, that they knew we were all going to be okay. Sanitation workers were on the job, someone was home, and we would go on. Waking up, doing my normal everyday job, and empowering my team to do the same ended up being one of our proudest accomplishments as a department and mine as a leader. Your daily work, the work you often don't think twice about, is the work that will have the impact on moving the world forward. The normal everyday can give people hope. Then there are the challenges that force you to take a leap of faith. Our sanitation team was tasked with something unprecedented in February 2020. setting up an emergency food program over the span of a weekend to feed every hungry New Yorker, because that's obviously the place you will put a food program in the city of New York. There was clearly no existing model and no time to make one. We had to just own the challenge, and we had to adapt and make decisions. Out-of-work taxi drivers became food delivery workers. We made meals available to everyone, regardless of papers. There were no requirements. Schools became community food pantries. We built an entirely new IT platform that shored up the supply chain. We literally fed 1 million New Yorkers every day. Without ever setting out to do so, we changed the entire system for how those programs can run in the future by moving fast and trusting our expertise. When the greatest challenges come your way, don't be afraid to make decisions. For even when you are not 100% sure that it will end successfully, it is okay to make mistakes. You will make mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes. We fixed a lot of mistakes. Progress stops when we become afraid of making decisions. After leaving here today, you will be the leaders, and how you build your team matters. Whoop. And be able to adjust quickly to win situations. Learn from and surround yourself with those who are smarter and who are different from you. Diversity of viewpoint and experience are your secret weapons as a leader. Because believe it or not, you are not always going to be the one with the answer or the one who should be directly doing the task. And I'm just going to share a personal story. Almost 20 years ago, I did try and teach my son to read in my data-driven, practical mindset with those books that you can buy that are supposed to advance one over the other. It did not go well. He ended up crying. I ended up incredibly frustrated. And my sister, the teacher, pulled me aside and said, "Kathryn, you really need to leave it to the professionals. He's in robotics now. He loves to read. He ended up just fine. So I thank his teachers and glad that I was able to put my trust in their hands." In your career, don't be drowned out by the sound of your own ideas or the ideas of the loudest person in the room. It is the quietest person in a meeting, in a classroom, or in a discussion you need to hear from most. It is your job to make sure you do. And here's the most important thing that I have learned about change. It will happen. It is that simple. You will change, your ideas will change, your goals will change, your methods will change, and as our world changes, education and psychology and everything that you have worked on will be forced to change. All of it is an opportunity. If anyone suggests that they know how to tackle what the repercussions of COVID have been, they're making it up. So change your mind as often as you need to. Don't be afraid to backtrack and reconsider. Don't be afraid of mistakes. You can fix them. Because the more you get stuck in a mindset, the more you will limit your own potentials. The answers are not always in the data, the pie chart, or even the research and curricula you yourself have created. Sometimes the answers are in our own lived experience and informed by the feelings and experiences of the people that we serve. Listen to the data, but always seek the answers on the other side of it, and let it change your mind. I promise you, everyone will get over it. There is so much happening in our country and our world that feels overwhelming, destructive, and harrowing. But young people make me feel incredibly optimistic. Generations coming up now are incredibly caring and committed to what they are working on. Even kids in elementary school are marching for climate change, equal rights, and more, trying to make the world a better place. And people who are investing in themselves to better communities, like everyone who is here today, no matter their age, I feel optimistic that the path forward is bright and in capable hands. Be creative. Be okay to try something and fail. Trust your teams. That is what leaders do. And I know that I am speaking to the next generation of leaders. New York is proud of you, and we can't wait to see all that you will do. Congratulations again, class of 2022.